Boy, that old gets old. And by the way, I was running the camp when Cal was covering for Slice. And I got the reports directly from the Pittsburgh police, so. I do want to remind you, I think it is a public service, and please, I'm not talking down to anybody, and I'm not being judgmental. Remember now, drinking can cause a loss of memory, and even worse, it can cause a loss of memory. You know, age is interesting. A lot of gentlemen out here in their time, and even now we have a lot of young men out here who have a black book, little black book, the infamous little black book. And right now in my little black book, behind every name, there are these initials, MD, and that stands for doctor. See, these are like my timeouts with my team this week. And am I different because I'm older? You know, I've been very privileged. You know, I recruited Tony, Derek, John. I've seen these guys grow up in coaching. Dino, seen both him and Seth grow up in coaching. Seth and I used to work the same camps. Am I any different? You know, I had occasion. I had some illness, and I was spending some time at home in North Carolina this past summer, and I live off a waterway, and I went out fishing by myself in the morning, and I was casting, and as I was casting, I heard a voice that said, "Hey!" I looked around, and nobody around, and I have been hearing voices. But I cast again, heard, "Hey, hey!" I looked, and there's nobody, and then I looked down, and there's a lily pad down there, was a frog. And I looked down at that frog, and I said, "Are you talking to me?" The frog said, "Sure am." And he said, "I'm going to tell you something, buddy. I am a beautiful, beautiful woman. Maybe the most beautiful woman you ever saw. And all you have to do is kiss me. And I will show you a side of love you have never, ever seen." I said, "Really?" So I picked the frog up. And I put the frog in my pocket. The frog says, "Hey, do you understand what I just said to you? I am a beautiful woman. And if you kiss me, okay, I will turn into that beautiful woman, and we will share things you have never thought possible." I said, "Well, you know, at my age, I'd rather have a talking frog." Now, I have been humbled. You know, I feel kind of funny standing up here because we're 0-3 and representing the coaches. And a lot of them are glad I'm standing up here 0-3. And I was thinking about what do I say? You know, especially what do I say to the team tomorrow, because I'm a little bit concerned that, you know, I don't want them to quit on me. So what do I do? My brother, one time, I was rooming with my brother when we were younger, and he called in work. And he called in, and he said, "Can't come to work today." The boss said back, I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, I have anal glaucoma." I looked at him, and his boss asked him, said, "What's anal glaucoma?" And he said over the phone, he said, I can't see my ass coming to work today." Well, I don't want my guys to quit. I'm hoping they show up for our first game. So I said, well, what should I do? I mean, another thing you can do is pray. Okay, and I remember when I was a kid, and my mother was very strong in the church about praying for things. And I remember I grew up in Chicago, and I saw a really, really nice bike, which I didn't have. But it was really, really a nice bike. And I looked at that bike, and I said, you know, should I ask God for that bike? And I remember my mother saying, you know, in the back of my mind, you know, God doesn't work that way. So I stole the bike and I asked God for forgiveness. So I don't want to talk to my team tomorrow about prayer or God. I'm certainly not fit to bring that up. What about timing? Tournament, everybody's 0-0. There may be a minus in front of one of our zeros. I had a real good friend one time, and he was getting married. And he scheduled his marriage before noon. I said, what do you mean? Why are you getting married before noon? He said, well, if it doesn't work out, I don't want to waste the whole day. So I don't want to put pressure on time. And the best thing I ever heard about timing was this. A policeman was patrolling Lover's Lane. And he looked at the back of Lover's Lane and he saw a car with a light on it. He drove back there and there was a guy in the back seat reading the paper. Woman in the front seat knitting. Well, he knocked on that window in the back seat. Man rolled the window down. I said, "Sir," he said, "how old are you?" He said, "Officer, I'm 20 years old." He said, "Well, how old is she?" He said, "Well, in 15 minutes, she'll be 18. Well, timing is important. But what do I do what's another thing I can talk to my team about? And I know Coach Calipari emphasizes this here, all great programs emphasize it. It's shown in the young men that are sitting at these tables. I think they show it every day. It's communication. Well, if you talk to anyone on my team, it's really like being alone. But it's the communication because of the interpretation. And I remember I heard a story one time about a guy who was marooned on a desert island for 10 years. But faithful, he got up every morning and he looked out on the horizon, trying to find a ship, see a ship, hope a ship. I'm gonna get off the desert island. Well, nothing showed for 10 years. And then one morning he got up and he looked and he saw something. It was kind of a speck. It wasn't big enough to be a ship, but it was kind of a speck. But that speck just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And he stood there in the middle of that small desert island, and all of a sudden, out of the surf, came someone in a wetsuit, full scuba gear. And as that person came onto the beach, took off the mask and the scuba gear, and blonde hair flowed out of the scuba gear and the mask, and it was a very beautiful young woman. And that woman walked up to him and said, "How you doing?" And he was trembling and shaking. He said, I'm doing fine. He didn't even believe there was somebody there. She said, "How long has it been since you had a cigarette?" He said, "Well, 10 years. Well, she unzipped the pocket on the sleeve of her wetsuit, took out a pack of cigarettes, gave him one. Lit it, took a drag, and said, how is it?" She said, "That's really good." He said, "Well, how long has it been since you've had a drink?" He said, 10 years. Well, she went on the other side of her wetsuit, zipped the pocket down, took out a flask, gave it to him. He took a drink, said, "Oh, that was really good. That was really, really good." And then she looked at him really seductively. And she took her hand up at the top of that zipper and started to pull that zipper down in her wetsuit and said, "How long has it been since you played around?" And he said, "You got golf clubs in there?" So interpretation is really important. Maybe the guys don't understand what I'm trying to say to them. Or is it my words? There's a story about two young brothers that got up. And the older one said to the young one, said, today we're going to cuss. The young one said, really? He said, that's right. He said, I'm going to say hell, you're going to say yes. Well, they got dressed, they came down for breakfast. Mother looked at the older one, said, what do you want for breakfast? He said, what the hell, I'll have Cheerios. Well, she grabbed him, washed his mouth out with soap, spanked him, brought him up, threw him in bed, came downstairs and looked at that young boy, his brother, and said, son, what do you want for breakfast? And he said, well, you can bet your ass I need Cheerios. Well, maybe it's my words, but I thought maybe I could trick them. I've tricked some teams, brought magic potion in the lockers and done all kinds of things. But then I remembered what happened when I was remarried and our oldest boy was 8 years old. We were trying to have some moments together in the afternoon when he was around the house. And what I told him always to do was I would give him a popsicle and I would tell him to go out on the balcony and talk about what he saw. And we had occasion to have that happen one afternoon, and my wife and I got together, and he went out on the balcony with his popsicle. I heard him say, oh, fire engine just went by. Oh, my friend Tommy's jumping rope. Oh, policeman's giving a ticket. Across the street. Said, oh, Susie's jumping rope right across the street. And then I heard him say, Mr. and Mrs. Cooper having sex. And I sat up in bed. I said, son, I said, what'd you say? How do you know that? He said, well, Jimmy Cooper's eating a popsicle on the balcony. Well, I sure as heck ain't gonna trick him. So I thought maybe I could motivate him with a really positive story from my background. I had gotten married when we were going to get married, and I was very, very young. And I've been married twice, the second time for almost 35 years. And but this was my first marriage, and I was married to a beautiful girl. She was Italian, and she had a sister who was 2 years old, who may be one of the top 3 most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And we're getting married on Saturday. I got a call on Wednesday. And it was her sister. She said, Jerry, I want you to come over. We got to go over some invitations. I said, really? I said, okay. So I went over to her townhouse. I came in. She was dressed to the nines. Short shorts, unbelievable blouse. Painfully good looking. And she looked at me and she said, I have to be honest with you. I've always liked you. As a matter of fact, I have passion for you. And before you marry my sister, I want you to think about it. Let's have a fling. Nobody will ever know about it. And she said, I'm going upstairs to the bedroom right now. She started walking up the stairs to her townhouse. I have to tell you, in all honesty, I stood there dumbfounded. And I made a beeline to the door. And I opened the door, and I got outside, and I started to run to my car. But before I got there, her father grabbed me. Her mother, her aunts, her grandmother. Oh, so happy, yelling, you passed the test, you passed the test. Unbelievable, you're the right man for our daughter. You know what the moral of that story is? Always leave your condoms in the car. Well, I stood a lot of tests, and I thought maybe if I told them that story, they'd understand luck comes to those who are prepared. But I do want to say something seriously, and you've been very, very gracious, and I hope I have not been offensive. And at my age, I'll credit it to anything you want me to credit it to if I was. It's amazing who I can bump into and make it look like an accident at my age. But I've been doing this my whole life. I was very blessed to meet guys like John. A lot of the campers that have grown into coaches. I've been very, very fortunate. Coached, traveled the world, done a lot of great things with kids. Actually, last year was my 67th year in coaching. I'm going to be 68. And no, it's actually my 47th. I had somebody take my ACT, as you well know. I couldn't even spell ACT. But seriously, one of the things that I've really taken from this, and I've been very fortunate to do other fantasy camps, and I've tried to do John's for a long time. I've said this about John Calipari and who he is and what he stands for and what he's all about. I knew him when he was living out of a car, really out of a trailer back in the day. His reverence for his parents, who I had the opportunity to meet, for other members of his family who I had the opportunity to meet, has always been unbelievable. We used to go to church together whenever we were on the road. And a remarkable young man who's grown into an incredible professional. But more than that, someone who can change things and make positive change. And this is really to all the campers and all their families out there. I really, really respect effort. I really respect pride. I really respect courage. Nothing is worth having in life unless you can share it. Nothing. When I got fired at DePaul, I walked off the stage of the press conference and a guy handed me a card. It's true, still have it, obviously. And on that card it said, "Experience holds its graduation at the grave." I wish I was able to put words together like that. And I wish I had really seen it put together like that maybe a few years earlier. You are creating incredible positive experiences. You are sharing things whose value you'll never see, but can change lives. Because basically this camp is an arm of charity. This is an arm of giving back. Is it competitive? Is it fun? Is it making memories? Obviously. What better in life, opportunities you have in life than to make memories? Positive memories. Things that you can hang your hat on and pass down to your children, that you can share with people for your whole life. But then to share the opportunities through what you are giving back to maybe give somebody a chance to do something special with their life. Well, it's unbelievably humbling. And when you see it on a scale like this, it is what makes you feel young, what keeps you going. And traditionally in my world, it's what gives me hope. I love people who don't just talk. I used to say this to my players all the time. I go, 5 frogs are sitting on a log. One decides to jump in the river. How many are on the log?